Now, alcohol campaigners say drink makers are failing to label beer and spirits with warning messages. The Alcohol Research and Education Foundation says only 1 in 6 products carry those warnings.
Manufacturers insist the labels are on most products and the warnings only play a minor role in health education. From Canberra, we're joined by the Foundation's Chief Executive, Michael Thorn, and the Corporate Affairs Director with Carlton and United Breweries, Jeremy Griffith, joins us in the studio. Good morning to you both. Jeremy, I'll start with you. Now, 1 year on, this scheme was put up by the industry itself. Why have only 16% of products got these drinkwise labels on them?
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of inquiries into labelling, and the federal government came out in December last year and said to the industry, look, we'd like you to take 2 years in which to get the labelling in place. Now, we as the beer industry and the whole alcohol industry have committed, from the beer industry in particular, we've committed that we'll have 80% of labelling done by Christmas. So we'll actually be 12 months in advance of where the government would like us to be. And in addition to that, we've actually taken the view that we'll actually go above and beyond what the government's calling for, and we're actually going to be putting health advisory labels on both our print advertising, our outdoor billboards, and also our television commercials. So we actually see that we are actually very committed to what the government's requested us to do, and we're actually going above and beyond what's required. One thing I would just, very important from the broader context of labelling, is to understand the broader context of alcohol in the country. Now, in Australia, we have about 12 million people who drink alcohol. On a weekly basis, about 8 million people will have a drink once a week. Now, the majority of those people will drink at home with a glass of wine, a beer with dinner, and they do it responsibly. And by and large, they kind of understand and they get labelling, they get the message. They understand if they drink too much, it's not good for your health. They understand if you drink, you can't drive, and that if you're pregnant, you shouldn't drink. And by and large, the public gets that message, and I think that's the most important thing you can do from that point of view, however, is educate the public, particularly adults, on how to drink responsibly. And you do that by targeting parents, because parents are the biggest influence of children.
Michael Thorn, over to you. Is the industry moving quickly enough?
I think clearly from this report they are not. Jeremy's own company's not even signed up to the particular regime that Drinkwise has proposed to the Australian government. They're doing their own thing. I think what the report shows, that 1 in 6 products being labelled at this stage is well short of meeting any target that they might have set for themselves. One company which has put itself out the front, Jeremy's opposing brewer, is making lots of claims about how much progress they've made with labelling, and this report shows them well short of what the industry, what the government is looking for. I think the other thing that we're saying here is that these health messages really shouldn't be left in the hands of the industry. One of the major concerns that we've got is the fact that the government hasn't actually laid down what we believe to be an appropriate standard for these messages. The sort of information that we're seeing from the alcohol industry at this stage is no more than very basic consumer information. Of the drinkwise labels that this report has found, about half, or nearly half of those, simply direct you to a website that says get the facts. Now, in this country, alcohol harms are estimated to cost the country about $36 billion a year. So these are not insubstantial figures. There is clearly a need to do much more about trying to reduce these harms. And these harms extend beyond just the drinking in pubs and clubs. There is now very substantial evidence that the harms that are caused both at the acute and the chronic level extend right across our community.
Yeah, Michael, I'll bring Jeremy in on this as well. I want to get to the broader question. Do these labels actually work, or should the government, for instance, with this money to spend on alcohol education, focus more on, say, public health campaigns and the like?
Well, clearly they should. Health warnings on alcohol products are only part of the equation, and we're yet to convince government
do you have any evidence?
Do that.
Do you have any evidence that they? It's been early days yet, of course. Any evidence they actually work?
Yes, there is evidence. The United States has had health warnings on their alcohol products since 1989. Their work there has shown that they do affect attitudes. In Australia, of course, we lead the world in terms of health warnings on tobacco products, and there is now a very substantial body of work that shows that that works. And what we're looking for is not for an anti-alcohol message, but one that draws attention to the risks attached with consuming alcohol.
Jeremy Griffith, if we bring you back in, is this something that the industry should be doing themselves, or would it be better if the government regulated it right from the start rather than giving you 2 years to do it on your own?
Yeah, look, to the point, I mean, we are doing this and we're well advanced of what the government requires us to do, and we're going above and beyond what the government's requiring us to do from a labelling point of view. And, you know, the most important, labels are one element of it, but really the most important thing that you can do is really educate, particularly parents. And, you know, through Drinkwise, which has been mentioned today, you know, we have run, which is an industry-funded campaign, we have funded one of the most successful advertising campaigns. And most people might actually recall it, you know, kids absorb your drinking, and that's where you've got the dad in the backyard and he looks at his son and says, hey son, go get me a beer. You know, that is the most effective campaign, and that's fully funded by the industry. So, you know, these are the campaigns that make the real difference.
But as well as that, when this scheme was launched last year, you also announced that there'd be point-of-sale educational material that's meant to be made available. Has that happened?
There's been lots of point-of-sale material. We're doing major campaigns with the health, particularly on pregnancy labels, because we take the most important thing for pregnant women to get the advice. We don't believe the best place to get advice for a pregnant woman is off the side of a beer can or a bottle of wine. We think it should be done through medical practitioners, so we're developing campaigns and material to educate doctors on the advice that they can provide to their to their patients.
Michael Thorn, just on that question, shouldn't we be looking at the issue of individual responsibility here? If you're pregnant, you should know that drinking certainly any alcohol or even a large amount of alcohol is going to potentially harm your fetus.
Well, women don't know that. About half of women are consuming alcohol when they conceive, and 20% of those continue to drink once they find out that they're actually pregnant. So there's a major health issue in Australia because of that.
But how do we,
and it's
I just want to pick you up there, Michael. Just quickly, Michaal, but how do we know that? You're saying lots of women are ignorant of the fact that drinking alcohol is dangerous while you're pregnant.
That is the fact, Michael. Yes, it is. And that's what the research has shown repeatedly. And so it's not good enough just to think about this in terms of an individual's responsibility. That child has no say in that matter. And when they're born with a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, that's a lifelong disability. And what we're saying is that the government simply isn't doing enough around laying down the rules about how we should be using alcohol in this community. And it's not good enough, and this report bears it out, to leave it in the hands of industry. They will duck and weave and try and get off the hook when it comes to the sorts of things that everyone in this community should be aware of, and that are about the risks attaching to the consumption of alcohol.
Michael Thorn, doesn't that go to the heart of Jeremy Griffith's point that if you're pregnant you should be getting this education from your doctor as opposed to on the back of a bottle of alcohol?
Well, I agree. We do need to do much more work, and my foundation is about to start some work working with health professionals in trying to raise awareness. That is a big issue in this country. What we're talking about here is how the labelling of alcohol products can contribute to the raising of that awareness.
One thing I'd just like to make, FAIR was actually established through money raised from beer drinker excise back in 2002. So it was hypotheticated funds from beer drinkers, from beer excise money that went to establish the FAIR, the education campaign.
Okay, Jeremy Griffith and Michael Thorn, we thank you very much for your time this morning.